When David was 6, he spent most of his time sick in the hospital. However, there were some perks. David got to spend countless hours with his father, who soon became the superhero of his imagination. The picture shows David's initial interpretation of his father. By having him front and center, it showed that David thought of him as the leading superhero of radiology, and then beside him were his sidekicks. Also, by showing the layers of radiologists behind his father, David showed his interpretation of his father's job being important and popular back then. Below the image, the text reads, "They were the soldiers of science and their weapon was the X-ray," which also showed the imagination and childish thoughts that David had when he was growing up. The photo is fairly bright, shining a light on the job that they have, and portraying the positive feel that David got from them. It was believed that his father was a good person and was helping him overcome his sickness. Overall, David perceived his father as a hero. This picture shows the contrast between the life that David was living and how he responded to it. How dark the X-ray of him is showed that David was in a dark place, somewhere where it would be hard to enjoy life and be happy. Despite the dark life that he has, David is smiling and showing just how little he understands about what being in a hospital meant. His smile also demonstrated the innocence that David had towards the situation. Another part of the picture that showed his innocence was that the small picture of his X-ray was surrounded by a huge background of white. The size of the picture showed that he was small and innocent compared to the hospital machines that his father used to give him radiation.
This is when a new and drastic perspective is introduced to David. The amount of dark shading that is used in this image portrays the darkness of what David's father is saying to him. Going into more detail, not only was the setting nighttime, David's father felt very guilty because of what he did to his son. He felt clouded because of his guilt, which is portrayed by the amount of shading. Another reason that the picture is so dark is to portray the emotion that David felt when his father told him about his cancer. David had a change in perspective after being told his father gave him cancer, and he demonstrated the two different ideas he had in this picture. Using two different eyes or faces showed that he used to think something different, but now that was just in his mind. This is when David's perspective of his father changed drastically. His father was no longer the superhero of his mind, but the villain who took away his ability to speak. His perception of his father had crumbled, leaving him with no idea what to believe. In this image, his eyes tell all that there is to be told. There is a strong contrast between the initial and final perspectives. His initial perspective saw his father through innocent and imaginative eyes. The perspective remained the same up until the very second his father said, "I gave you cancer." The second those words escaped his father's lips, he saw his father in different eyes. The direction that his eyes are looking after he finds out shows that he no longer is looking up to his father as he once did. The shading portrays the emptiness in his eyes that came from no longer holding an admiration for his father. His outlook on the world changed, from his father being his hero and role model, to him having to step up and realize that his actions were going to be the only way for him to have a better life. David became self-reliant.